without any further ado, I think I'm going to get back up one screen here. I'm going to get Patrick back on here. There he is. Patrick, good to have you here this afternoon.
Hey, thanks, Eric. Appreciate your introduction there. And I'm going to just jump right in here with Bob Wilke. Bob, you still with us?
I'm still with you. Hello, Patrick.
All right. And Bob's camera on his computer seems to be, we see you, Bob, but it's a black box is all it is. So I'm going to turn my camera off. You can turn yours off, too, if you want to, and that'll free up the screen for the slides. I have a slide of you here so they know what you look like, but I also have a picture there of your wife, Molly. She's there in the picture with you on the screen now, too.
We're business partners. We attended ABS together just over 9 years ago. And that's obviously, I'm a little grayer these days.
That's hard to believe, Bob. 9 years ago, that was like in December of 2007, wasn't it?
It was. It was a great week. We had a wonderful time. My wife was the one that was interested in becoming a medical biller, and I just told her I'd go along to be supportive. And by the end of the week, I realized this is something that we could do together and get out of the business. I was traveling 100,000 miles a year, and so this is a way to get off the road, build a business together, and work it in retirement. So this has been a really great opportunity for us.
All right. So, Bob, what were you doing at the time? Can you give us a feel for, did you have any background in the medical field?
No, not at all. I was in the sports collectibles realm. I worked for the NFL, Major League Baseball, the NBA, a lot of the leagues and manufacturers, and put on the National Sports Collectors Convention, done that for about 10 years. Big event, about 1,000 booths, 30,000 people attend annually for the one-time event, a one-year annual event, rather. And then we also had a radio show associated with that. We were on the Sporting News Radio Network for about 7 years. So as you can see, that is not related at all to medical billing. So it's a whole new realm of the field.
Well, I know sports figures get hurt a lot and have to go to the doctor, so it's kind of related. Wow, 100,000 miles a year. Wow, I guess you were ready to get off the road then, huh? How about Molly? What was she doing at the time?
Her background, she just moved from the UK, from Scotland to be precise, and she was in pension, they call it pension schemes there, and I informed her that when she moved here, she can't use the word scheme anymore, but she was in the world of pension. And so, again, nothing to do with medical.
Yeah. All right. Well, there you go. That's a great non-background to have. We tell people, we have people come through the training from all kinds of backgrounds. I don't believe I've ever had anybody that was in a scheme of any kind or that was in the collectibles. So, and so what made you decide to, look at medical billing industry?
Well, when Molly moved here, she said, I don't want to just stay at home. I want to do something. As well, find a business that you'd like to start, and I'll support you. And she did her due diligence and found your website, found the ABS website. That, boy, this is what I want to do. She called and spoke to a number of people there and realized that this was for her. And so she's the one that brought it to the family, if you will. And then, as I said, once I went to the training, I got excited and we started doing it. I started doing it full-time in 2010, even though we worked at part-time up until then because I had to phase out my business. My partners were buying me out, and so that took a little time, but we've been doing it full-time ever since.
Yeah, so you're saying that she just decided that medical billing was the industry. Did she know somebody who was doing it already?
No, she did the search on the web, found your website. And she was impressed enough that she wanted to not just do medical billing, but she wanted to do it through ABS.
Wow, that's incredible. Well, I guess that's probably how most of the people in the webinar today found us as well. So, hey, by the way, I'm going to open this up to the folks that are on here. I see a whole bunch more people that weren't on here when Eric started the thing. We got almost 50 people on the webinar today, so I think they wanted to hear your story, Bob. So I'm going to let them ask questions in the question box. So folks, go over there to your control panel with the GoToWebinar software and just find the question box, type it in. I'll see it as it comes up on the screen here in front of me, and I'll ask those in the order in which they come in. So think about it this way. Here you have the opportunity to talk to somebody who's they've done their due diligence, they've been through the training class, they've got their business up and running. We're going to find out how successful Bob is here in just a second, but the point is he's already done it. And so here's your chance to ask somebody live today any questions you want, and I'll just ask them directly to Bob as I see them coming in here. So I don't see any yet, but I'm going to ask some questions to Bob as we get up to the questions here as we get going here. So, any questions now, folks, that relate to the opportunity itself? Those are all answered on our website and on our virtual brochure. So I may address some of those at the end of the webinar, but if they don't, if you couldn't start your question with Bob, then I probably won't read the question today. So always think of it as you're asking Bob directly these questions. Now, Bob, you said that you had gone through the training there, I think we said in December of 2007, and were we doing 5 days of training at that time?
Yes, you were. It was Monday through Friday, I believe.
Okay, all right. And so when you left the training, how did you, you and Molly are talking on the way back home. What did you say about this training?
Well, we started talking before we went home. We were sitting out waiting for our car to pick us up at the hotel afterwards, and we'd already chosen a name for our company, and we set our goals, what we wanted to do, and what was really encouraging for us is that we knew that when we left our training, that you, ABS, your people, would be there for us well after we gotten home and got our business started. And of course, I must say that's true. I mean, you guys are amazingly supportive. If we need help with if we take on a client that we don't know anything about, for example, we took on a home health care client. Didn't know anything about coding and billing because it's a whole different ballgame, but you knew somebody in another state who did. You put us in touch with her, and she's helped us a number of times. Other instances like that where we've given you a call or sent you an email, and you're there to help us and give us support.
Yeah, we just feel that's very important once people leave. Even though you've been doing this for 9 years, Bob, you know that there's things change, new regulations come out. We're right in the middle of switching over from Obamacare to Trump Care, or whatever they're calling it now. I think it's called the American Healthcare Act. And so, so we're trying to switch over. And so things change, don't they? So you got to stay up on that. And we try to keep our licensees up on that on our private website where we announce all those things, and you can log in, weekly and just kind of find out what's going on. Okay, wow, the questions are really pouring in now, Bob. So I got to rush through these let's just do them and answer them as quick as we can and get to the next one, okay? All right, let's see. Here's one from Suresh says, how long did it take for you to get your first client?
Well, that's a question I get a lot. Keep in mind, we really didn't start working the business full-time until 2010. We picked up our first client within the first year, and the way we did that was through an organization called BNI, Business Networking International. And if you haven't heard of it, you need to look into it. If it weren't for BNI, in addition to ABS, we wouldn't be around. But they help you when you join a chapter, they help you find business, and you're helping your other chapter mates find business as well. And one of our chapter mates found us our very first client. And it took a couple more years to get more clients, again, because we weren't working it full-time. But once we were full-time, things really started to take off. Everyone's story is going to be different in that regard. Everyone's going to have a different story. Ours is obviously unique, but obviously today we're doing fine.
And that we get that quite a bit, actually, Bob. People who are working a full-time job, when they come down here for the training course, they go back and they have to build this thing, part-time. And of course, there's ways to do that through organizations like BNI, where you're actually meeting other people who are either a potential client or somebody who could be a referral partner to refer you to a client. A lot of licensees get folks from those meetings like BNI. Yeah. Christopher says, did you find it difficult to find your initial clients?
I will tell you, I'm just going to tell you right now that the most difficult part with this business and any business is finding clients. And that's why you need to be creative and find ways to get in to meet doctors or the people that work for doctors or patients of these doctors who will introduce you and give you an opportunity to talk to them. And that's the hard part. That's why meeting other people that can open those doors for you is really crucial. It beats knocking on doors. Not that there's anything wrong with knocking on doors. We certainly did it our first year. Once we realized BNI could help alleviate that need, and we can get clients through, and even the chamber, your local chamber. It makes finding clients easier. Not easy, but easier.
Yeah, and I'm glad you said. I'm glad you said that, Bob, because you're right. In any business, whatever business you're thinking of starting, folks, your hardest part about that business, of course, is getting clients. And not just at the beginning, but I mean, you lose clients from time to time. And when that happens, of course, you have to go out and get another client to replace them. So, Bob, kind of give us let's jump ahead now. I see some questions kind of related to this. But give us a feel for where you and Molly are now. Where have you built your business to, and how many clients do you have, and so forth?
We have, I believe it's a dozen clients. We have acupuncturists, chiropractors, as I mentioned, home health care, mental health professionals, massage clinics, naturopaths, and also naturopaths that specialize in acupuncture as well, nutritionists, and we're open to any specialty type. But those, we found that these kind of gravitate to us, probably because we have multiple clients with those various credentials. We work hard in our business. There are days we'll work 5 days a week. There are weeks we'll work 5 days a week. Other weeks we'll work 7 days a week. But we enjoy what we do, and we enjoy working with our clients. Excuse me, frog in my throat. And we have a good relationship with our clients. Some more so than others. Some we see on a regular basis. Some just say, I don't need to see it. Just do the billing, make sure I get paid, and we're happy.
Yeah. True in any business when you have clients. Some will be easier to work with than others. Some are more profitable than others. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yes.
Nitish says, hey, Bob, you have clients all over the U.S.? You have one that's outside your state, don't you?
Right. All of our clients here in the state of Washington, we do have one in Kansas, in Overland Park, Kansas.
Okay.
We've never met.
Really?
They found us on our website. We talked a couple of times, and they decided that we were the client for them, or the biller for them. And we've been billing for them for about 1.5 years now, and we have a wonderful relationship. They thank us profusely, and we thank them profusely.
Yeah, we hear that all the time. I've got a licensee, I think he's in Florida, that has clients in like 8 states. And he says basically that happened to him. One of them found him on the website, but he said the rest of them are all just referrals from other doctors, you know.
Yeah, I'm waiting for that referral to come in from Maui.
A referral from Maui?
Maui.
Oh, from Maui. I thought you said Molly, your wife. Okay. All right. Let's see. How long? Oh, well, this is the same question. Now, if I see the same question, folks, I won't address it. Abimbla, you asked the same question. How long did it take you to get the first client? Here's a good one, though, from Salim. He says, Bob, why did you select American Business Systems? What was so special that attracted you to ABS?
Well, I got to give my wife, Molly, that. She's the one that did the research. She when she started looking for, once she delighted on medical billing, she wanted to find out which company might be the best for training and support, and she came up with ABS. And she's not on the stairs, Molly, there. She's the one that did the due diligence, so I can't take credit for that, but I can take credit for jumping on board and realizing, knowing a good thing when I saw it.
You know, Bob, when you told that story about you coming down here, and you were just kind of supporting her, I guess, coming to the training, and then as you sat through the week, did the light bulb just kind of go off at some point, and you thought, man, you know what, this might be a real business?
Yeah, I've been self-employed most of my adult life, and so I thought, I've started other businesses. Why can't we start this one together? And had no doubt about it. We just didn't take it. It just takes a lot of work, like any other business that you're going to get up off the ground. But it is rewarding to start a business from scratch when you had absolutely nothing going for you other than the knowledge that ABS imparted to it. So that was exciting.
Yeah, Suresh is asking a question, and I think he's asking this in relationship to when you first got your first client. He says, how long did it take you to make money? When did you see some cash flow?
Well, that's a relative question. And we got cash flow as soon as we billed the client after that first month. In terms of enough to make a living and to be satisfied, I'm going to eliminate those first 3 years because, as I said, I was still working my other business. But by 2012, which was that'd be 5 years, but in reality, 2 years we're working the business, we were doing well enough to where we didn't have to worry about how we're going to pay the bills.
Yeah, and so I'm assuming you and Molly are both at it full time now.
We work it together every single day. Yes, we do. And we're working out of her home. She's in one room, I'm in the other. We put a partition up, and we're hockey masks, but other than that, we get along fine.
And what you have people that work for you as well?
We do. They all work remotely, so they work out of their homes, and they occasionally come here to pick up work or to go over items that they're independent contractors, and when they work out of their home. We have it varies between 5 and 6, depending on what our needs are.
Yeah. Well, that's great. Yeah. In fact, it can be run from anywhere, from anybody's home, can it? It's just it's an amazing business in that it's cloud based.
Well, and it's a wonderful age in which we live. Well, with computers, the internet, with faxes and phones, there's really nothing you can't accomplish with this business where you can do it all remotely.
Yeah. John says, Bob, what's the best advice you could give a potential investor with starting up fresh?
Set realistic goals and networking. That's B&I, the chamber. Just get out and meet people, press flesh. That's the only way you're going to meet clients.
Yeah. And
potential clients.
And I'm assuming, Bob, at the time you came through the training, did we spend some time there in the training on the networking topic?
You sure did. And I might point out that we that first year or 2 years, we listened to a lot of your webinars, Patrick. I don't know if I've shared this with you before. And you would bring on people like me who are successful in billing, and then the questions would be asked, of course, and almost without exception, when someone asked your licensee, how did you get your clients? And almost every time they would say B&I or networking. So that's when the light really went on. Then we knew we've got to get involved and become networkers. And that was because of you, Patrick.
Oh, well, good.
Sure.
I'm glad to hear. Well, we're sharing that with other people today, too. By the way, Daniel's asking, is the association BMI? That's body mass index, isn't it? It's it's BNI, Business Networking International, Daniel. Okay, let's see.
Let me point out to you, they have chapters all over the world. There are multiple chapters probably in each of your potential licensees areas.
Yes, that's true. You can just go to bni.com, can't you?
I think it's BNI Connect, but yes.
Okay. Let's see. Here's another question about that. How difficult was it you had to get your first client? We talked about that. Victor says, in your estimation, how long did it take before your income had passed the amount of your investment in ABS? So he's just talking about return on investment.
Yeah, I would say within, by the time we're going full time, probably 2 years.
Yeah.
No, I'll take that. Oh, that would be less than 2 years. Probably just over a year.
Okay. Mario says, what skills do you think are key to launching and growing an ABS business? What skills?
Well, you have to be a good communicator. I think you have to have a little bit of salesmanship in you, and knowledge. You have to understand what it is you're offering your clients. I think the thing you need to worry about least of all is the actual billing. That's easily learned. It's all rote. You'll figure that out fairly easily. It's just the thing you need to do is just work hard and be diligent and not giving up trying to find clients.
Yeah, I would say that's probably one of the reasons most people fail in any industry. Wouldn't you say, Bob, that they just give up a little too soon, right before they get that first client?
Sure, that first client or second or third client, whatever it is you need to get over the hump, could just be around the corner. So it's the old adage, never give up.
Yeah. Darlith asked about the marketing tool that you use to get clients, and you said mostly it's networking. Is there? Did you hire a sales rep at any one point, Bob?
Well, we considered it and even advertised on Craigslist for it, but we didn't find anyone suitable. I know that other licensees have had success doing that. I'm certainly not poo-pooing at all, but if that works for someone might have the perfect formula for making that happen. didn't work for us, and I've never been shy, and so I've always been able to get out and meet people and find clients through our business.
Yeah. Let's see. Joel says 10 clients. That's very little. Well, first of all, Joel, it was 12, but you know, it's making both Bob and Molly a full-time income, and of course they pay 5 or 6 other people to work in their business as well. So you know, it all depends on how you look at it. I've had licensees sign up over 300 doctors, Bob. I've got a guy up in New York, for example, that has over 300 doctors, but he wants to build this, you know, and you know, do something really huge with the thing. He's got the time to do it and the people and resources and so forth. But then there's folks that are still, you know, with us, have been with us for many, many years, and they still have just a handful. But you know, they're making a decent income, and they go, hey, I like working out of my home, and I don't have to answer to anybody else. There's lots of advantages besides the money, of course.
Well, and I'm not saying this is the case with us, but if you have 10 clients and they're you're billing $100,000 a month for them, time whatever percentage you're charging them, it isn't necessarily little. Does that make sense?
Right. I think people don't know how to do the math because, again, they may not be familiar. So let's talk about that, Bob. You're saying that if you charge, percentage-wise, what would you say on average that you're charging for doing the billing? It's
depending on the client. It's usually a percentage of the allowed amount, whatever the insurance company allows. We charge, again, depending on the client, their volume, a lot of varying factors, between 6 and 8% of that amount. We bill them monthly. So if you figure that you've got a client who's doing $100,000 a month and you're charging, I think the minimum 6%, that's $6,000 just for that one client. So you know, you multiply that percentage times whatever it might be, whether they're doing $50,000 a month or $200,000 a month, times whatever percentage you're going to charge them. It works out nicely.
Yeah, it does. Let's see. Sochi says, I have a couple of questions. Your first client, how terrified were you? Was it very difficult to set up, to get that client set up?
It really wasn't difficult. I think more than Molly. First of all, I'm the, if you will, I'm the front person. I'm the one that's out meeting potential clients, and I do some work in the office. But Molly is the one that does most of the work, and so she was a little panicky at first because she'd never done billing before, and she made some mistakes. That everyone does when they first get started. She had it running smoothly within 30 days, and everything has been rather simple since then. Every now and then you get a client who is unique, like I mentioned, home health care. They are really unique. And so you're going to need some help and assistance on that, and that's what ABS is for. They'll help you and point you in the right direction.
Absolutely. Let's see.
Fear is normal.
All right, let's see. She goes on to say here, without having previous medical billing experience, when your first account claims were turned over to you, was it easy to start working on them? How long of a learning curve did you have?
Oh, I think I kind of touched on that. Usually, I mean, within 30 days, you've pretty much got things under control. And once you've done one, you've kind of done them all. You just need to make sure you know which codes are applicable to the provider type that you're billing for. And there's a lot of similarities, but that part is, as I said, is not easy. It's not difficult. The hard part is finding clients. The easy part is learning how to do the billing properly.
Yeah.
Easier. Let me say easier.
Right. All right. Abimbala says, Bob, has anything changed in the service you receive from ABS since you started over 9 years ago?
I'm not trying to understand the question. Nothing has changed in terms of your support. If we need help, you're always there. That hasn't changed. You haven't charged us anymore. We paid the one-time licensing fee, but you're still there regardless. And so your support's been awesome. I can't express myself enough on that.
Well, thank you. And of course, we continue to come out with new services. Usually we don't charge anything for that unless there's some materials that we have printed and so forth that you pay for. And we have come out with several new marketing tools. The new Thriving Medical Practice book. We have the How Physicians Can Get More Clients book. We're constantly developing new ways to market and new tools for the licensees. And again, we only charge our cost on actually producing those, printing them if you order them. Okay, let's see. Joe is asking about, are we recording this? Yes, we are. And Joe, you'll get an email following this webinar that'll give you a link directly to where that recording is. He was a little late coming in, he said. Vishal. When I look ABS for its market share amongst the billing software out there in the market, it does not show as one of the 10 popular billing softwares used by clinics, doctors, etc. Any take on when and how you plan to be a part of the best 10 list? Well, I'm going to answer that one, Vishal. That's one of those things that you find out when you're a licensee, that we do have technology partners that power all of our software. So when you find that out, you'll find out that we are in the top 10 list, and we'll be glad to share that with you. So go back to the person who sent you the email to this webinar and ask them some more detailed questions about that, and maybe they can share some of that with you. Do you have a problem with, as Darla says, do you have a problem with clients knowing about, your home address for your office?
It's never been a problem. We just make sure they don't know our home address. And knows our rep. So we set up a separate mailing address at a UPS store on a main street in our town. And as far as anyone knows, that's our business address. That's where we're located. They ask me, I tell them we work out of their home, but no one's ever asked to come to our home or any questions about that. So I think that's not something you need to be concerned about.
Yeah,
unless you're living in Russia.
Unless you're living where?
In Russia.
Yeah, that would be a problem. Or working out of, your garage in the Ukraine or something. All right, let's see. Salim says, is your average profit, if your average profit is $25,000 to $35,000 per client, as mentioned in the ABS brochure, is this gross? What percentage of that would be net? Okay, so I think what he's done there, Bob, has looked at maybe some of we have an online calculator, that people can plug in some numbers. And it does come out to $30,000 per doctor on average, depending on, again, like Bob said, some he probably makes more than that and others he makes less. Yeah.
Exactly. And your margin is, aside from employees, that you shouldn't have much in the way of expenses. You're not buying inventory. It's up to you if you want to have an office space. But if you work out of your home, you have part-time employees working remotely, your expenses beyond taxes are pretty less than the average business. So your net should be far higher than, let's say, if you owned a retail store or a grocery store or a convenience store.
Yeah, okay. Sheila says, Bob, did you try to work with any HCPs that is part of an integrated health system? I'm not sure what that.
I'm not sure what that means. I can say no because it doesn't sound the least bit familiar, but I'd be curious to know what it is.
Well, maybe just healthcare providers. That's probably, she's just abbreviating healthcare providers, maybe. That is a part of an integrated health system. Maybe she's talking about like a hospital system or something like that. Yeah.
And that could be, but no, we haven't at this time, no.
Yeah. All right, let's see. Okay. Okay, well, there's a couple of comments here about the number of clients that you have again, and some person saying that they think they could do a whole lot better than that, and so that's great. Really, everybody has their own goals. Huh?
I want them to do better than me. Everybody
yes, of course. And, I just look at it this way. You can build this as big as you want. You can keep it as small as you want. It's up to you. Everybody's different. Here's a question about the BNI. Can you share how much the fee is? Does it cost a whole lot by chapter? It varies by chapter probably, doesn't it, Bob?
Well, I'm not sure. I know here in the Northwest, it's $445 a year. There's a $150 registration fee. That's a one-time fee. And each chapter charges dues for the facility that they meet in. They can be as low as $200 a year to as high as $500. Some serve a lunch or a breakfast. That's why the fees are higher. Others don't. But it's part of my business model, part of my business plan, and that's how we are looking for clients.
Yeah. Here's a question that I can answer. Tarana says, Were Bob and Molly already in the medical billing or healthcare business? No, they weren't, Torana. She may have come in late. Bob, how successful have you been at packaging the other products? So I think what that question is referring to, Bob, is our other services, the ancillary services that you can offer as a licensee, I think.
Right, and some of our clients prefer that we use the software that they're already using, and so we adapt and use those. And when we can, we present the other products. So I'd say it's a 50-50.
Yeah. Okay, and that was from Christopher. All right, let's see. Daniel says, what type of software do you use to invoice your customer to provide them details as to why you're charging them?
And that's a Molly question, but I know that the software that we use, I believe, is something that we either got through ABS or was recommended through them. And I don't remember the name of it, but there are lots of software vehicles out there for you to create invoices and send to your clients. You can also use it. There's a lot. You could use something as simple as Excel and create an invoice. But there are lots of softwares that'll help you do that.
Yeah, I think we actually use one called QuickBooks, which is quite adequate for most businesses out there nowadays. It's pretty popular. Lerma says, were you able to market in the electronic medical records, EMR, I guess is what she's asking. Has any doctors signed up with you for EMR?
Well, and the same answer as what was asked before about the other product that ABS offers. Every opportunity that we have, we present it. And again, some want to go in. We've still got some that just want to do it the old-fashioned way. They haven't jumped into the EMRs yet, but others have, and we've had some success, yes.
Yeah. All right, let's see. John says, how do you collect from the doctor after he or she has received their payments?
Well, we track all of the claims that are paid. We make sure that we get copies of the remittance advice on every claim that we file on behalf of the doctor. We then tabulate those at the end of the month, and we base our percentage on the amount that is allowed on each claim. We send an invoice to the doctor, and we have very few problems in getting paid on a timely basis. Most pay us within a week. Some of us, we hand them the invoice, and that day, before we leave, they hand us a check. So we've had very fortunate when it comes to our doctor clients paying us on a timely basis. We never have to go over anything much in the way of detail with them. We've got a good relationship, and if you have that kind of relationship with your clients, they'll respect you and pay you when the invoice is due.
Yeah, that kind of ties in with John's question here. What's the expected turnaround time for payment from the client when you bill your clients?
Yeah, first of all, we always put on our invoice that payment is due at the receipt of the invoice, and usually, as I said, most of our clients, we've got a check either in our hands or in our mailbox within a week after we send it out. It's rare that we have to wait much longer than that.
Yeah. I mean, you're collecting the doctor's money. If they don't pay you, their cash flow stops.
Yeah, they need us. We're kind of like when you own a business and you got to take credit cards. It's a necessary evil. You got to pay that 2 or 3%. And I don't want to refer to us as an evil, but we're necessary for the doctors. In order for them to get paid, they need us to get them paid. Well, and they'll take care of it.
Yeah, you're right, Bob. We're a necessary evil because, I mean, when it boils down to it, one of the reasons this business will be around a long time, we've been in business for 23 years now teaching people to do this, but it'll be around because no matter what, as long as they're human beings who get sick and they go to the doctor, somebody has to bill somebody for the doctor to get paid.
Exactly. And there are those doctors that don't want to do it themselves. They don't want to do it in-house. They prefer somebody that's doing it on a full-time basis, taking care of their billing for them. So that's what the service we provide.
Yeah. Have you found, Bob, that you've actually saved doctors money over them doing it in-house? Have they realized that at some point?
Yeah, I can definitely tell you we've had experiences like that. We've also had experiences where they found out that their biller was not doing the job. They were ignoring unpaid claims. They were stashing checks and forgetting to deposit them. A lot of nightmare scenarios. And so we were able to not only clean up those problems that the previous in-house biller had created, but we streamlined their cash flow. And now they just go about doing what they went to school to do, and that's take care of people, treat them.
Yeah. Joe says, going back to a previous question, how does ABS compete with the other more popular billing companies out there that are not really business opportunities or franchises? Do you feel it hard to sell to practices using one of those competitors? So I think the question has to do with, have you run into any competing billing companies out there, Bob, that you've fought to get a client from or something? What kind of?
Oh, I see. I understand. No, I understand the question. And to be honest with you, no. In fact, a couple of years ago, I ran at a networking meeting, a small networking group that I was attending at the time, ran into another ABS licensee. And we got together, had coffee, and compared notes, and they were fairly new to the business, but they seemed to have their head on straight, had good goals. Haven't been in touch with them since, but we just both realized a lot of business out there for all of us, and we've never crossed paths competing on a potential client yet. But no, to be honest with you, we have never, that I can think of, had to compete. Well, I'll take that back. I'm sure we've competed with other medical billing groups, but more often than not, we're the one that ends up with the client. Because we're local, we give reference, and we take good care of our clients.
Yeah, and we just have really good technology that helps collect as much as can possibly be collected for the doctor. I guess we could put it that way. That our rejection rate is less than 2%, where most billing companies have 20-30% rejection rate. So that's money they didn't collect.
And that's absolutely true. And believe me, we use that statistic, and we can back it up when we meet with prospective clients.
Yeah. Natish says revenue goes to ABS first, and then we get from the client. I think they're talking about the cash flow there. Bob, why don't you explain how that works? When you collect the money for the doctor, that doesn't come to us or you. It comes to the doctor, doesn't it?
No, and we never touch the money, ever, ever, ever. All the money goes directly to the doctor's office address or into the checking account if it's electronically processed. We're just aware of what they've received because we get the remittance advice. We can see what they've been paid, so we know what to bill, how to bill them. But no, and I don't recommend you ever volunteer to handle money.
Right. Yeah, there have been some horror stories I've heard, Bob, of doctors who the billing companies wanted the money sent directly to them, and then they would handle it all and then send the doctor what that's not the way to do it. You can run into all kinds of problems with that.
Well, the client we have in Overland Park, Kansas, that's what the situation they were having. Their biller was handling everything, and all the claims were going out in the biller's name. It was really pretty ugly scene, and they had a hard time wresting that account back from that biller in order to give it to us. And it got ugly, but we finally got it done. But they were charging them pretty high. It wasn't even a percentage. It was a flat dollar amount per claim, and it was pretty outrageous. So we saved them a lot of money, and they don't have to deal with that stress any longer.
Yeah, it's a win-win. All right, Darlith says, when you first started, was there ever a time when you felt like giving up? What can you advise?
I must say, no, never did. Never ever did give up. Never felt like it. Certainly there are days you're discouraged, or darn it, we didn't get that client, or this didn't happen, that didn't happen. But no, you just never give up. And attitude is everything. Years ago, when I was in the sports collectibles industry, if anyone remembers a great Hall of Fame baseball player by the name of Ernie Banks, he was one of those baseball players that always said, let's play two, meaning let's play 2 games today instead of 1. Wonderful attitude. I met him, and the first thing he said to me was, how's your attitude? And I looked at him and I said, it's good. He said, with attitude, you get altitude. And so I can't stress that enough. Attitude is everything.
Oh, that's fantastic. I like that. He does sound like a great guy to have around. Now, let's see. John is asking if medical reports are required by the carrier to ensure payment to the doctor. How do you acquire those reports and documents and forward them to the carrier? Do you run across that?
Yeah, certainly we do. When you have a PIP claim, an automobile injury or an employment injury, so someone's injured on the job, those claims go to either auto insurance companies or L&I, Labor and Industries. And they require not just a copy of the claim, but they also require copies of the doctor's notes. We call them SOAP notes, chart notes. And typically, those are faxed to the carrier, the payer, whether it's State Farm or L&I. In some cases, you have no choice but to mail them, but typically you fax them, and they get processed more quickly that way. So yes, and the doctor will give you those. If the doctor wants to get paid, they'll give you copies of the chart notes. You've created the claim, you couple them together, and you send it off.
Yeah. All right.
And those pay, by the way, those pay well. Usually they pay 100% of the claim that you billed, not a percentage of the claim, as the medical insurance companies do.
Ah, yeah. All right. Vishal says, since the software is capable of catering to services from appointment scheduling to billing, what stops the clinics or the doctor's office from doing the billing on their own rather than using you, the biller?
Every doctor is different. Yeah, every doctor is different. I mean, some just want to do it on their own, regardless of what software they may be using. If they're talking to you, it means they've got an interest. There's something isn't going right in the office, and they're interested in making a change. And whether they change and they allow you to introduce a new software program, or they want you to continue to use the program they've got, you've got an opportunity to become their biller and then introduce other products once they become comfortable with you and you move forward.
Yeah, I think he may be saying that once they are a client of yours, what would keep them from just logging in? You can restrict their access to parts of the system, can't you?
Oh, yes, you can. And don't forget, if you've got a contract in place, you can prohibit certain things from happening, and that could be one of them. That you're the one that's going to have access to the software. You're the one that's going to be doing the billing. But frankly, look, bottom line is if you have a client and they want to start doing it on their own, all of our contracts state clearly, if you want to cancel this contract, let us know in writing within 30 days, and you're out of the contract. I mean, no one wants to do business with you, or you don't want to do business with someone if they don't want to do business with you. And
right.
All of our contracts stipulate that. It's never been an issue, ever.
Yeah, yeah. Monica's asking, Bob, have you ever had a situation where you didn't receive remittance advice? I guess
I can honestly say yes, we have. Some payers are not good. I'll back up. If some claims that you file, the remittance will end up being that goes to their deductible, and some payers don't provide a written remittance advice, something in print. You've got to call and ask for it or go online and get it. So it can be frustrating at times. But no one's surprised when they're told that it's hard to work with insurance companies sometimes. They all are, whether it's your auto insurance or a medical insurance company. So yes, sometimes you have to do a little legwork to get a remittance advice. Yeah.
Sure. Glenn says, sorry, I jumped in there too soon. Glenn says, how do you take time off?
Anytime we can. You have to plan it, and so that's one thing that I think adds some fun to our lives is we say, okay, we want to go here. When can we do it? When can we set time aside to do it? So it's just called planning. So we plan it, and then we do it, and we don't let anything get in the way of it.
Right. All right, let's see. John says, are we responsible for posting payments to the client's system?
Usually, yes. And you're going to find that we offer a lot of different services for our doctor clients. For example, what we offer to not just post payments, we also offer to send out print statements and send them to those patients that have a balance. If they ask us to, we'll call patients that have done their payments. Most of our clients, they ask us if a patient hasn't paid on a timely basis to turn them over to a collection agency that we work with. So it's not just about billing, and we do a lot of different things for our make sure that they're happy and give them the service that they need.
Yeah, you try to be a full service provider, basically, They don't want to jump all over the world. They want to do everything they can right through you.
Exactly. And
Yeah. Go ahead, Bob.
I was just going to say, you just want to be there to offer all the services you can possibly offer. The key is to make your client happy and comfortable, and make life easier for you.
That's right, because you want to keep them a long time.
That's the name of the game.
Sheila says, does ABS have standard contract forms to use with the doctors?
Is that a you question or a me?
Well, I don't know if you've used our contracts or not, so I didn't know whether you could answer that, but we do have contracts.
Yes,
yeah.
we have. We've edited them somewhat to fit our situation. But yeah, that's the basis of the contract we use to this day.
Yeah, in fact, part of what we do, folks, is support Bob and other licensees with their proposals. So if they are signing up a new client and want our feedback as to whether they're charging enough or too much, we can give you some feedback on that, and you can adjust those agreements any way you want to. But yes, we've spent over $100,000 having attorneys develop all the agreements between you and the doctor, sales reps. There's all kinds of contracts that are involved in a business, of course. So we've spent a lot of money on those. Darla says, is there additional fees besides the $25,990? In other words, the initial licensing fee. Have you ever paid us anything else, Bob?
No, other than supplies, no, nothing else at all. And your supplies are always priced very, very fair. As you said, I believe that you sell them to us, basically it's a pass-through situation. Whatever they cost you, you charge us.
Yeah.
And many times you don't charge. Many times you don't charge us at all. Depends.
Right. And this is kind of a hard one to explain on a webinar like this, because we have webinars that go into this in more detail. But Darla's asking about the fees that you use, that you pay to use the software. In other words, every time you sign up a doctor, of course, there's fees involved in that. But Bob, do you try to get the doctors to cover those fees with setup fees?
We do, and every situation is different. You really do have to customize whatever you're going to charge them up front according to you're going to have a questionnaire. You're going to what we call a practice analysis that you're going to sit down with the doctor and the staff, get some answers to some questions that are on that analysis, go back and figure out your proposal and figure out what you're going to charge them, both as a percentage and whatever startup fee there's going to be. And again, that could vary. It could be anywhere from hundreds of dollars to thousands of dollars, depending on what they're buying into and what they're offering.
Bhupati says, Bob, how much have you had to spend on marketing for your first client?
D&I was about it, I must say. This isn't the kind of business you're going to run an ad in the local newspaper or even in a local magazine, because it's a finite market that you're marketing to. So it's you want to meet people, and the least expensive way to do that is to get out and meet them, and D&I was the great way to do that, and the chamber. So I would say the first year maybe $1,000.
Okay. Darlith, the question you're asking about those fees, by the way, you probably ought to get back with the person who sent you the invite to this webinar. We call them your business coach, and that person can go into detail on that. It's just kind of hard to cover that in a webinar like this. So, wow, okay. So, Bob, this has been great. Thank you so much for your time. We've got just a few minutes left here, and I'm going to address some of the questions that weren't addressed to you about the opportunity itself and tell them about the next upcoming training and so forth. So, any last words you want to leave with people, Bob?
No, just as always, Patrick, can't thank you and your staff enough. You've been tremendously supportive from the beginning to this very day, and always enjoy chatting with you and your prospective licensees. If I can give any help to anyone that's on the phone, don't hesitate to give my number. I'm happy to talk to them.
Well, great, Bob. I'll do that. I'll have them get back with, again, their business coach, and if they want to speak with you personally, they can just go through them to get your number direct. Thanks again for being on here, Bob.
Thank you, Patrick. Goodbye now.